it will be required for everyone. So just a simple concept. What is Git? Okay, actually, how the process works in not only it's only data. I mean, database engineering part. It should be for if you are working in a Java development based project or any other development or any other. I mean, whole project. So how how the project works? So the project was the development team develops the data. I mean, develops the code. Okay. So what kind of codes? Maybe it can be Python codes. You are building some data from transformation. You are doing some sequels. So you are creating some tables. You created some DMLs. So all the things, all the codes you need to put somewhere to store it because maybe in future the same code will be required again. Maybe there is a bug in a project, the same code will be required again. But who is developing the code? It's the development team. Actually, in a project life cycle, I think you have heard about that. There is especially four phases. There might be more than four phases, but a standard application or standard client should maintain this thing. The first phase or the bottom phase is called development one. Okay, here all the developers they are developing the codes and they are storing the codes in some location, some repository. Okay, after that, when their code is completed, they deploy their code, whatever code bases they have created in the repository, they deploy the code in dev itself. That means the code is there, but code is not executed. So the code will be executed when the dev is completed. Now the codes are running fine. Suppose I have a DDL with myself. Suppose whatever code you have sent to me in mail, the same code is there. In the same code, there is some DDL. DDL means there is a create statement to create table. But the DDL is not deployed yet. We need a particular deployment date to deploy the thing. We have created all the code base, but I haven't deployed it. So that's why after the code base is created, we need to deploy the same thing in dev environment. Okay. So when dev is ready, the next thing is we means the development team needs to do another thing that is called unit testing. So development team will do unit testing. After that, when unit testing is successful, they will they will migrate the same code base into QA. They will deploy the same code into QA. Okay. So as the unit testing has been passed, so the code is good to move to QA. QA is quality testing, quality assurance. So the QA team, there is a separate team called QA or testing team. They will check the functionality of the code, and if there is no bug, then they will promote into higher environment. Higher environment means UAT environment. Okay, UAT where the user will test it. The product owner who has given the project, entire project costs and all, they will be checking whether the products are working fine or not. It's in UAT environment. Here also they can get some defect. So each layer, if anyone got any defect, they will be reaching directly to developers team. Okay. Then developers need to check the code from the code base repository again. And if any modification is required, the same thing needs to be modified. Okay. Into the development code base. Okay. So when this thing has been updated, then they need to commit the changes again to the GitHub repository. I mean, I'm not coming to Git till now. So they need to change the code base again into the repository. They need to deploy the same thing. Actually, we can call redeploy the same thing. They need to unit test the same thing. They need to populate the same thing to a higher environment. So this is the entire things goes on in a particular project when it's in development phase. Ultimately, when UAT is successfully passed, then the code base should be pushed into production. Production means it's in live. So all the public or any other who is using that code, it can be usable. Okay. So this is the entire setup. But when the code is in development phase, the developers are sharing or development teams are storing the codes into some repository. So in our case, we are trying to understand that repository. Git is one of the example of this repository, which is, I mean, majorly the people or the project stakeholders, they are choosing Git. There is other tools as well. There are lots of competitor as well, but Git is the most popular one. I think you have heard about that. Most of the project they are using Git. So Git, what is Git actually? Git is a version control system, means in which day what particular changes you have made to a particular code, that can be stored over there. So that you want, suppose there is two back-to-back changes. Today you have changed something, yesterday you also changed on something for a particular code. You want to check yesterday what kind of changes you have made. Okay, so that is why it's controlling the version, which day, which version you have pushed. So that can be tracked. This is one thing. Git is a open source, free open source software, and it is distributed in nature. Why it's called distributed? Because uh, nowadays we are using one of the Git service. Maybe it's GitHub, GitLab, anything. It is been hosted in portal, and it can be used by lots of developers. In a particular application team, maybe there are 5 to 6 developers are there. It's a small team actually, 5 to 6. It's not a big number. So they are doing the development over there. So if any day they need to deploy anything in development, then uh, they need to push the changes into the code base repository. Okay. Now onwards, you also think about you are storing the code in Git. Okay, let me see. I mean, show one more thing. Suppose I am a DB. I mean, I'm working in a database, just like same as MySQL. Okay, MySQL, we are running the create statement, create table name. But in more of the project, even where I am working in my project, I do not have the privilege to execute the command into the database, because they did not give me the privileges of DDL. They did not give me the privileges of admin role. They just give me the privileges of read role. That means I can do select operation and I can do DML operation as well. But I do not have DDL operations. So that is why there is another thing is coming into the picture now onwards. You have also heard about that. It's DevOps pipeline. Jenkins is one of the example, Jenkins pipeline. So when our code base is ready, the Jenkins pipeline has access to the Git repository. It will, whatever code base I'm writing over there in Git, if I trigger the Jenkins pipeline will pull the code from Git and deploy the same thing into the respective environment. As Jenkins pipeline has the access or the service account which is been configured for Jenkins pipeline, it is having the access to deploy the code in development environment. Okay. So this is the process for the day. Maybe today's session is a bit conceptual. It's not a technical one, but it's very much important to have the knowledge on top of Git, because when you are live in a project, you can get those terminologies, and that should be hard to track out at that time. Okay. So what are the Git features? Now moving forward, what is Git? What are different Git features? How our developers can commit the code? So what are the different things? What are the different terminologies used in Git? So let's move ahead one by one, and you can take concept of this. If there is any conceptual problem or issue, then you can quickly stop me and ask me question. Okay. So what are the different features? In Git, we can track changes across multiple files. Suppose each of the DDL I have stored in each of the files. So, and all the things are being saved in a particular repository. We can track changes across multiple files over here. Can time travel into older version. That thing I have also discussed. Suppose there is a bug. There is a bug in a recent release. I need to modify something not on top of the recent release. I need to check 2 months ago some development were completed on top of which I have done the bugged part. So I have to remove that thing and I have to build some new feature on top of that. So that is why I can do a time travel. 2 months ago, what particular release was there in development in the release branch? What was the thing and at a particular time? So I can check it. Time travel into older version. Roll back to previous version. If I think that is my correct one, so I can roll back to the previous version. I can track changes with my current version of codes. I can roll back to the previous one, which I think about that this can be the correct one. So I can roll back to the previous version. Collaborate and share changes. I can collaborate the changes, combine the changes, compare version of a project. So all those things we can do there. And just a quick concept. Git is a particular software, and on top of Git, we are using lots of services. So this kind of thing you might have had GitHub and Git. Git is the software. Okay. The main software which has the concept of version controlling. The concept of storing the code bases in a particular repository. But GitHub is a service on top of Git. It is maintaining the same stuffs. One more, this is particular difference between Git and GitHub. I just want to mention for Git, it's if you just require the software, you can install the software at your local as well. You can convert one of your folder, Windows Explorer folder, to a repository, to a Git repository. Your machine can be online in network, may not be. It doesn't matter because you are using Git in local. But while using any service on top of Git, you should be connected to the internet because especially this kind of services are hosted into web. As this is being used for multiple teams, multiple team members, maybe at a time 50-60 persons are tracking this thing. There is a big development team. Each of the development team is working in a particular module for the particular application. So they need to change the thing at a single go. Maybe at a single day, lots of changes should be there. So they are using a web-based hosted of Git thing, Git service, which can be GitHub, GitLab, this kind of thing. Okay. So first we will be having some concept of Git, how Git is working. It's almost same about GitHub, but GitHub is the main service. So when we are live in a project, then especially we just need to focus on GitHub. Git is, primarily installed at the backend. Even we do not have to think about the repository creation. There is a separate team of Git. As I'm mentioning that we will be joining as a database engineering. Data engineering stuffs. So there, Git should be supported by a different version. So no need to install Git. I'll be giving you some concept how Git is been installed and all, but there a ready-made environment will be ready with us for GitHub. They will be giving us the portal name of GitHub and they can help us with the access part of the GitHub so that I can have a right access on top of GitHub if I am a developer. Okay. So let's see how Git and GitHub is working. Okay, here is a quick, it's a continuation of this slide. So there is some competitor products of Git as well. You can see some Azure product. It's there for GitHub, GitLab, GitLab, Gitbucket. AWS code commit. Those are the different services. Okay. Okay. Now I'm just going to go ahead with some concept of the on top of the Git software, how the software works. So if you want a practical example as well, you can install the software. This is the link. Let me paste it over there. Okay. So Git, this is the Git software. This is the latest version of Git. You can download it for Windows. Sorry. Okay. Okay. So after installation of the software installation is very easy. You can see this kind of logo, Git Bash. Okay. So just double click on top of that. It should be working as a command line prompt, just like CMD or PowerShell. Okay. Just you need to know the commands of create new directory, the Linux command specifically. It should be working in the similar way. Okay. Git GUI. Okay. So Git, whatever services or whatever command will be writing, the same thing is available at the Git GUI, graphical user interface. So some of the project they can use graphical user interface. They can use some interface to do their work. Some of the project they do not prefer any external software. They want only the git bash command line prompt to work in Git. Okay. So if you have GUI available, then it's very simple. Whatever command we will be learning today for Git, the same kind of buttons are available as well in GUI. Just you need to know the terminology. Okay. So there are various kind of GUIs are available. Those are Git based software, just like GitHub Desktop, SourceTree, Tower, Git Kraken, Ungit. Okay. Now what is Git repository? Git repository is a workplace which tracks and manages the files within a folder. So suppose actually we do not have to think about Git repository. As a database engineer, it should be ready-made available for us from a different or separate team. Okay, but just a quick concept. In your local machine, if you already install Git, if it's in your local machine, you install it, Git bash will open. Now you just need to convert one of your folder to have the Git feature on top of that. You can able to do that. So how you can do that particular thing? Just you need to convert a folder. Whatever folder is there, just choose a folder in your maybe in your particular drive and do the below things. What the things you need to do? I'm just going ahead. Just open that particular folder. Suppose you want to convert this folder, database engineering courses, then Git. Inside the folder, right click, open the Git bash over here, just like you can open the CMD prompt from here too. Okay, just like show more option. Just like if I open the terminal from here, the terminal will be opening into this location. Okay, so you can do two things actually. Just open git bash from your local and put a cd command, change directory to the particular folder which you want to convert as a Git repository. Okay, just change your directory and put git init command, git space init. So it will initiate a new repository. That's it. And the repository name should be the same as the folder name. This is the way you can create a repository in your local. And now in the same window, if you just put git status, it will show you inside that particular repository what is the status of the repository. Maybe there is some uncommitted files. you have made some changes into the files, but you haven't saved it. This kind of stuffs you can directly get it by this git status command. They can track the changes of the files stored in that particular repository. As all the files inside the folder is now coming into the git repository, it can track the changes. And how you can track the change? You just need to apply this git status command. Okay. Moving to the next topic. Yeah, this is how the GUI looks like. I'll be coming to this topic later, actually. Okay, so just like I told you how to create a repository, but I'm just repeating once more time. We do not have to create the repository as a database engineer. The repository will be ready-made available for us. We just need to track the changes. Maybe I just need to commit my changes. Now, what is commit? Commit means that commit you have to, I mean, if you covered up the SQL topics in DCL, data control language, actually in TCL, transaction control language, over there we have learned commit, save point, those stuffs. So committing means whatever transaction I'm doing, I need to save it into the database. Similar kind of stuffs in Git, it's also using commit for the same purpose. So I'm making some changes inside the repository in the main branches or any other branches. Branch concept I haven't come yet, so I'll be coming this thing. So in a particular file, you are changing something. Okay, so the change will not be reflected to that particular branch until you do the commit. Commit is just like a saving thing. So you are doing some changes in web, but you want that thing to be published into the main portal branch. Otherwise, it will not be visible by other developers. Suppose you are doing something and some other developers have the dependency on top of that. Whatever changes you will be committing, after that, a particular new resource will be working on top of that. But as of now, after during COVID situation, or not only on COVID situation, it's working lot of days earlier. Although you are in office, but you cannot share your code by your pen drive because it's a violation. You cannot insert pen drive in your system. So whatever code you are designing or developing, you just need to push into GitHub or you have to commit it. When you are committing it, then the other developers can also able to see your codes. Okay, they can pull your updated codes over there and they can change their in their respective way. So this is the thing how what is commit. So you are just working on a particular stuffs, you are changing, you are keeping adding the changes and changes and changes, but you haven't committed it. So at the end of the day, or maybe some days in between, maybe twice in a day, you can commit the change. So there is a stuff for development. So this is the working directory. You are adding changes, adding changes. So this is the thing how to add. So whatever changes you have done, first of all, you need to add these changes into staging area. This is two-layer approach. Working directory means wherever I'm changing the thing. Now our change is completed. We need to add the thing in staging area. After adding the thing in staging area, maybe I thought that I need to add some more thing. It's not completed. It's if it is completed, we can directly commit it. If it is not directly completed, I can think yes, this thing is left. So let's go ahead with git add with another thing. I change another things and push git add again. So all the previous changes is there. This changes is also there in staging area. Now I can go ahead with a single commit. The command is git commit. Then that thing should be coming into the main repository. Okay. So this is how it's called. There is two command we just learned, git add and git commit. Okay. Now the concept of branches are coming. In the repository, as I'm mentioning, there may be multiple developers are working. If the developers want to work simultaneously, So suppose two developers are working simultaneously in a particular file. Okay. In a particular file having two modules. One module is checked by you and another module is checked by another person. So what can be done, because both of you are changing the same thing, it should be throwing difficulties. So better not to do in the same way. You can create your own branches. Maybe you are doing some trial and error. So you don't need the trial and error to be committed into the main branch, because the main branch should be deployed in dev as well as it should be pushed into higher environment after the unit testing and everything is completed. So that is why here the concept of branches should be coming. Concept of branches mean from the main repository there should be a main branch that is called master branch or release branch, anything. Okay. But as a developer, the best practice is you need to create your own branch from the master branch. In the other branch, you can do whatever trial and error things you want to do. Whatever of developers and developing things you want to do, because it's your own branch. Nobody is going to see in your branch. So when your code is ready over there, then you can merge your branch to the master branch so that your code is visible to everyone in master branch. Okay, so this is the concept of branch and this is the concept why the branch needs to be created. So this is just a pictorial diagram. So this is the master branch. I have created some branch over here, and when my topic is completed, I can merge this branch into master one. Okay. Okay. Here is another pictorial diagram and it's a suitable one. You can see this is the master branch which will be deployed in development as well as in higher environment. In master branch, those are different commit points. Okay. The commit points means we are changing the thing. Suppose after this commit point, I can see this is my prerequisite to do my development activity. So I choose this commit point and I can create my separate branch. So this is the topic git switch master. Master is the master branch. So by this topic, your feature branch will be created. This is a feature branch where you are adding your feature. You have tested it, you have made commits and you think that this thing is fine as per the requirement. Now you can merge it to the main branch. Okay. This is the main branch. This is the way the people should work. Now here can be a concept coming. So you are working this branch for a particular file. So some of your developers are working the same file in this branch. Okay. Now, when you are trying to push the changes into these commit points, those are commit points, means we are committing something into the commit points. Let me show you the graphical user interface. Then it should be easier. So in GUI, it should be looking like this. So here you can see those are different commit points. Maybe this is the master branch. Okay. So this is a release branch. I mean different feature branch rather we can say. Okay. So in the master branch you can see lots of things are available. I mean whatever commit you are doing, whatever committing part you are doing, those things are available over here. Okay. Now you want from this commit point, this development activity is fine for your development. So you create this particular branch for your development activity. So you have created this one for yours and you have added these commit points one by one for your changes. Okay. This is how GUI looks like, and all the operation what we are doing over here, all the things are available over here too. Now the concept is, if you are changing the same thing and someone also changing the same thing in master branch or any other feature branch. Now when you are going to push the changes from here to here, you are going to merge the changes from here to here, then it's throwing an conflict error that the same file is being updated by you and any other. So you want to push these changes over here. Now what happens for the file? Should it take the new changes into these commit points over here and they can reject your change, or the vice versa? They can reject this change and they can just accept your change over here, or they can combine both of the changes. So this decision we need to take, the developers need to take. This is called merge conflicts. So there is two approach actually. Specifically, when we are creating this kind of feature branch, we need to do one more thing. We need to pull the what is the latest code base repository. Then this kind of thing should not be appear. If we pull the latest one, we cannot go ahead with two commit points. We can just go ahead with one commit points. If we find if this is fine, just pull the latest updated code from master branch and go ahead with your changes and merge it. Then this kind of chances of doing the same file operation should not, I mean, it should be limited. Okay. And there's another approach. Just open the file and consult with the same thing who has changed it earlier with another branch. Just consult and change everything in a particular file. Maybe it's there, it's the others file or yours file. Change everything and push the final one. Maybe just consult what changes is required. Maybe you can discard your change as per the requirement. So whatever thing is required, based on the requirement, discuss the same thing with your colleague and remove the conflicts. How to remove the conflicts? As I mentioned, push all the changes into a single one after discussion and push the same changes into master branch. Okay, is it, I mean, all the things what we are discussing, is it understandable, Prasanna?
Yeah, yes, super.
Okay, it's actually conceptual today. It's not a technical one. After, I mean, next week as well, 1 or 2 days would be a conceptual one, and after that we'll be covering some more technical stuffs. Maybe some quick revise on the topics, the big data topics as well. So there it should be technical ones, but the Git is also a required one for each and individual projects you are going, because all the development activity, even from the support activity as well, when the project is been handed over to the support team wants to check the particular feature that has been developed in a particular rally or anything. If they need to check the same thing, they can also check it from GitHub, which particular changes is been done in which locations and all. They can check it. Okay, so this is how the merge conflicts can be removed and the code can be migrated smoothly into master branch. Okay, another topic, it's called Git stashing. What is stash? Suppose you tried, you are working something on top of particular files. Okay, you changes something as per the requirement, maybe last 5 or 10 days, but you have not committed yet these particular changes. Okay, so what to do? There can be two approach. Actually, one more thing I just forgot to mention. So you are changing the thing, you are yet to commit it because your requirement is not yet finalized. Okay, and suddenly you got to know whatever changing you are doing, that requirement will not be coming currently. That should be coming after some days or some months. and currently you have other work on the same file which should be pushed with the emergency purpose. So till the last working days, whatever changes you have done, this is not required. So what should you do with that one? Should you discard it? Actually, no. This is the concept of git stashing. So whatever uncommitted changes are there, stash helps to save those changes that you are not yet ready to commit. So you haven't committed it. Stash will help to commit it. So how to stash it first? So you have uncommitted changes. You can just have to go ahead, if you are using the command line interface, just go ahead git stash. And you can see the same stash button in the GUI if you just go ahead stashing part. So git stash, if you just execute it, all the uncommitted changes will be stashed. Okay, it is some temporary location of git. Now you can go ahead with your desired changes. What is as per the emergency, whatever changes is required, change everything. When the change is completed and you want to go ahead with the previous changes once more, then you can go ahead with this command git stash pop. It will be popping up or pop out actually whatever changes you have done or you have made in the stash region. It will pop the same changes from there, and you can go ahead with the unfinished changes at that time. So this is the concept of stash. Just try to understand the terminology. Maybe you are in a project after some days or anything. If you have the terminologies in your mind, so over there people will directly told, I mean they can tell you, just do this, pull the code from GitHub. Or they even do not do, I mean tell these things to you. They can directly advise, they can directly advise you, just go ahead with this stuffs, and maybe they have the understanding that you know this kind of git stuffs. So that is why specifically whoever is working, uh, they should have to understand those terminologies on top of git. Okay, now I'll be just quickly covering GitHub. Specifically what we told this time, I mean it's top up on Git is the software. As I told, GitHub is one of the services that we'll be getting on top of Git. So how GitHub generally works? As I mentioned, GitHub, it's been maintained in a portal, as a portal is been visible for every developers. Okay, so in a portal there is also file based or folder based locations are there. Okay, there we need to store the files, maybe in the form of repository. Okay, so first of all we need to clone this repository in our local. We need to, as a developer, we need to make the changes. So what we have to do, we have to clone the portal's file system to our own local system. Okay, now if you want to make any changes, make the changes in your local. So first of all you need to clone this. If you want to clone this by any software, then cloning option is available, cloning button is available there. If you don't want to use software, just in your bash command put git clone and put the URL, which particular repository you want to clone from the website. Just put it over there and it will clone it. So when cloning is completed, it should be in your local. Okay, change everything in local. When your local is changes and committed as well, means your local repository is committed, then push those changes in the remote branch, the branch you want to commit in the remote side. In the remote as well, remote in the remote master branch is there, and you have a different branches as well. It's a release branch. Suppose you want your release branch to be updated with your local code commit, so you can push the changes in your release branch. Okay. Actually, I need to tell this thing earlier. Git fetch and git pull. As per the name fetch and pull, it will take the data from the remote to your local. Okay. Fetch and pull. So suppose you want to check what are the updated commands at the master side or any particular branch side. You just need to go ahead with pull operation. Pull all the changes. After the cloning part might be, it might be that you will be developing the part after some days, maybe after 7 days. But you have taken the cloning part of the repository 7 days earlier. So there is 7 days gap. The developers has done lots of things. So you want the updated version. So then you can just pull it, git pull option. Then all the updated branches will be available in your local. Okay. Now you can push it. You can change at as per your own, commit at at the local commit points and all, and push the changes into the remote. This is how pull and push should work in GitHub. Okay, there is another thing. Nowadays, the portals are supporting. Not portals. The IDs are supporting. This is the ID of PyCharm. We have already worked on top of that. In PyCharm, we can work in either way. We can clone the Git and save it into a local and open the same folder system by file. This is open project and open the particular local project system over here. This is one thing. Another thing, we have opportunity to directly connect to Git repository. There is a particular tab called VCS. Just go to VCS. There is option of Git. Go to Git and connect with your remote repository where you want to make the changes. So you can directly connect to the Git repository, especially for your branch, not the master branch. If you're changing anything in your master branch, this is not a good sign. So that is why specifically it has been advised, don't update anything in master branch directly. Create your own release branch from a particular commit point of your master branch and call this particular remote branch over here. Okay, so you can call all the code bases what is available in your particular remote branch, changes the thing in your remote branch. You can change it, you can commit it, check it whether all the code bases are fine. If everything is fine, in Git, you can push your changes of your release branch changes to the main master branch. It's not actually push, it's called merge. Merging your release branch to the main master branch. This is the overall concept actually. Is it understandable? Yeah, this is the last topic as well. So is there any doubt, Prashanya, in your mind how Git is working, the overall concepts and all? Sorry, not able to
Yeah.
hear you. Okay.
Yes, Swapnil. I'm able
Okay.
to understand.
Okay. So that's all for today's session. This is especially it's a conceptual thing while working in actually it's a component that you will be handling. It's not directly tagged with data, but in your project orientation, those are the particular procedure you need to maintain. So that is why we are learning Git over here. Okay. Okay. So as there is no doubt, I think it's fine. I'm
Yes,
closing the
Swapnil.
topic.
Regarding recordings, I don't find any latest recordings uploaded in YouTube.
Okay, the latest recording I have provided on, last Monday. Okay, so the
Oh,
recordings are available till Monday. After the completion of this recording, I'll be telling the entire week's recording
okay.
to Upendra today only. After completion of this recording,
Okay.
and Upendra will update it to YouTube link. If you
Okay.
find after 1 or 2 hours it's not there, you can directly ping Upendra if it is.
Okay.
Do you know Upendra, correct? Okay, you
Not
can.
sure, but I will check.
Yeah, it's one of the admin team
Okay.
mm, in Tetra.
Okay.
So just after 10 to 15 minutes, I'll be pushing all the video recordings to Upendra's. So
Okay.
hopefully he'll upload the thing.
Okay.